But I must say that one of the reasons that Zhou Enlai was so interested in the Pakistan issue, that Pakistan was very close to China. And of course, it was Pakistan, that government, Yahya, that had been the primary intermediary in working out the relationship between the U.S. and the new Chinese-American relationship. So we had a number of things going there. Just coming to the point, though, he was concerned about the Pentagon papers, he was concerned about the Anderson papers, and I assured him that we would do everything we possibly could to see that anything that we said between each other would not become public.
Did Jack Anderson's publication of those papers do harm to the national security or vital interests of the United States?
It could have, but I didn't allow it to happen. It could have because there were some in our government who felt that we should back off, that supporting Pakistan as against India didn't make sense because Pakistan had only 70 million people and India had 700 million. Well, that's like saying that supporting Israel against its 100 million Arabs doesn't make any sense. Israel only has 2.5 million, but you support whoever happens to be right, and that's what we did.
Did you find out how Anderson got the papers?
Oh yes, an investigation took place, and it was a most amazing discovery. Hard to believe that it happened, but it was a yeoman, a Navy yeoman, and he got the papers because he worked for the NSC. And he had traveled with Kissinger on some of his secret trips. He went through waste baskets, he went through briefcases, and he stole the papers, however, not for Anderson, but for the Pentagon. And I must say, when I learned about it, I said to Kissinger, you know, I don't mind the Pentagon spying on us. I just assume that every government agency tries to find out what the White House is doing. And but I said, I do certainly mind a yeoman taking such papers that he got for the Pentagon and then making it available to the press in a way that's going to hurt our foreign policy. Let me put it this way. For the Pentagon to learn what we were doing didn't concern me because I felt that they would probably keep it quiet. They were going to think of the national interest. But for it to go to Jack Anderson, I knew obviously he's going to print whatever he can. He couldn't care less about the national interest. No media person really can or does.
What other agencies do you assume are spying on the White House?
Oh, I think they all try. By spying on the White House, let me say that that is probably a crude term. What we're talking about is getting information. The State Department wants to know what's happening at the White House. The NSC staff tries to find out what the State Department staff is doing. They try to find out what the CIA is doing and so forth. Where it happens at lower levels, and they go to their parties and their mouths, all the time, and it's really a sickening damn discussion, but it does happen.
Did you plug this particular Yeoman leak?
We couldn't do anything about it. Of course, we transferred him. That's an interesting thing. People said, well, why didn't we do it? Of course, this was a violation of the law, and he could have been sent to prison for it. We didn't prosecute him because we didn't want to embarrass the Pentagon. And just as simple as that. So we just transferred him to Oregon, I think it was, and he couldn't do any harm out there among the
That's punishment
pine
enough,
trees.
huh?
Well, I wouldn't say that. Oregon is still a very important state.
What did you confront the people, whoever in the Pentagon that he was working for, with what they were doing?
I didn't, but it was done, and they were very embarrassed. And each of them, of course, was trying to protect his own tail, and they were going to fire this one and that one and the other thing. It was at least let me say, it was not a very admirable performance on the part of anybody concerned. It happened, and it was just one of those things where basically, quote, we covered it up. And we covered it up because it would not have been in the national interest to have the Pentagon embarrassed. And also to have the nation embarrassed, to have the whole world know that the Pentagon's spying on a White House.
Are there any reporters who, or many reporters who do care about the national interest and take it into account in what they write?
Oh, I'm sure there are. There were many. I remember during World War II, it was without question, when it was a war that everybody believed in, the reporters certainly were trusted by Franklin Roosevelt and by Eisenhower and the rest, and they kept that confidence because they didn't want to risk American soldiers and so forth. But times changed. During the Eisenhower years, I felt things were pretty well. There were many reporters, people like Dick Wilson and Lyle Wilson of UPI, people of that sort that I knew were totally trustworthy and things of that sort. But as time has gone on in the television age and the highly competitive age of the investigative reporting and the rest, this whole attitude of honor among reporters, it's just nonsense for anybody in government to believe it. You've got to believe that a reporter, his first responsibility is to the story, and he'll do anything to get it and anything also to get it published. That doesn't mean they're disloyal. It doesn't mean they're bad Americans. It means that that is what they're taught, and that's and that's the only way they're going to get ahead. I understand it's self-interest. It's not so much they're against the country or against us. I must say, in the war period, that is when it unfortunately reached a very high level. There were just a number of reporters that felt during the Vietnam War that the war was, quote, unjust and wrong and immoral. And therefore, that from their position of higher morality, they had an obligation to do what they did. So consequently, instead of condemning Ellsberg, who took out the Pentagon Papers, they made him a national hero. And the same was true of those who disclosed other confidential information. In other words, disclosing information, if it's for a good purpose, is moral. If it's for a bad purpose, that's something else again.